Well, welcome in, everybody, to the BVarsity Live Scoreboard Show. We're on the air here at 11:20. That's a lot better than last week. I don't think we made it to 11:45. Mike Griffith's here with me, and I was out at Stockdale tonight where the Mustangs beat Independence 21-7. We'll talk about that game. Mike was in the office tracking all the scores. You took the call from the BHS Drillers coaches. Right. They were flying high after a 52-0 win.
Dominating win. That game was over in the first quarter, 28-0. 4 running touchdowns. Interestingly, they had 230 yards rushing, or 232, 231 passing, but all the TDs were on the ground with the exception of one.
A very balanced offense. The points came on the ground, but the offense is balanced. The defense has been unbelievable for BHS. They will get tested. In fact, they may be the underdog in 13 days. Chaminade coming to Bakersfield. That game will be at Memorial Stadium at BC. That's one of the games of the year in the state now, I think.
Yeah, Chaminade was winning big last. I saw it was 49-7.
And that was against St. Bonaventure, the team that whipped Centennial last week. So that's going to be a clash of absolute titans out at BC on a Thursday night on September the 15th. They get the off week next week to prepare for that. Let's go through some of the scores. We do have a quick highlight from the Stockdale game to show you. Unfortunately, Liberty Ridgeview, the other highlight game, just ended a few minutes ago, so we don't have highlights up of that one yet. Clovis West, this is a Thursday night score, all over Centennial, 44-7. The Golden Hawks fall to 0-2. I'll tell you what, though, that makes Liberty look good. Here's Stockdale, 21-7 over Independence. The Mustangs, that game was 7-7 late in the third quarter, and then the highlight we have is of the play of the game. This is what happened. Independence had just recovered a fumble in the end zone to tie the game, and then Jacob Ruley, one of the few times he went deep tonight, and check out Jalen Smith. Look at that catch, dragging the ball over a defender, somehow keeping his feet, getting a block downfield, and running into the end zone. Unbelievable play.
Yeah, quite a catch. I happened to be looking down at the screen on my computer that had 8 windows open. We were talking because
you were lucky to catch that one.
A gift certificate for $50 being given away on the first score in the first half, and we were talking to the office about, well, they're not going to give that gift certificate away, and boom, right there's that great play.
Yeah, we gave away a gift card to Johnny Garlic's in each half. We're hoping to do that again, another restaurant or another company in the future on BVarsity Live. So stay tuned. It's always going to be tied to the broadcast. You have to listen to the broadcast, get the keyword, and then tweet back to us so that you're following us on all media. Let's keep going on the scoreboard here. Again, really one of the big ones in the central section tonight. Liberty holding off Ridgeview 20-13. Patriots have played a tough schedule. They found a way to win twice. That's what good teams do.
Yeah, they did. And Ridgeview actually took the early lead in this game.
Yep, 6-0, I think.
Then it was 7-6, and kind of came back to make it 2013 and had a chance there at the end.
Ridgeview has the ball. In fact, they scored to make it 20-13. Liberty had a first and goal situation, turned the ball over back to Ridgeview. Ridgeview marched down the field but threw an interception. So Liberty had a chance to run out the final 3 minutes of the clock, and the only reason they were able to do that without giving the ball back is because of a roughing the kicker penalty on a punt. They were going to punt the ball back to Ridgeview, but roughing the kicker gives Liberty a first down, and they're able to run up the clock. So 2-0, any way you slice it. They've had to win both games in the fourth quarter, but the Patriots now 2-0, and they move on. And I want to say they play Central next week, and that could very well be our BVarsity game of the week. We'll have an announcement on that early next week. We mentioned this game, Bakersfield 52-0. Mike, you said the offense just incredible, and obviously the defense as well. Bear Creek comes thousands of miles from Colorado, and the game was over in
it was
10
over
minutes.
in 10 minutes, and 35-0 at halftime. So just called the dogs off, basically running clock.
Right.
Went to by the fourth quarter. So
and the BHS defense has never deserted that program. The offense deserted it the last couple of years, and so they were fighting tooth and nail for every victory they could get. Again, they've played out-of-area teams. They played Pleasant Grove last week and beat up on them. In Ventura, they beat up on Bear Creek tonight. We don't know exactly how good those teams are, but it's a good sign for Bakersfield that they're putting up points that quickly, and we're going to find out how good they are in a hurry against Chaminade, as we said, because Chaminade is the real deal.
That should be a great setting if you get a big crowd at BC.
And on a Thursday night, there's no reason for it not to be. Boy, you could get, I think you could get 10,000 fans out there easy.
I was thinking around 10,000.
So we'll see what happens at BC in a couple of weeks. Of course, a lot of big games next week as well. This one, a heartbreaker for Garces. Boy, I will tell you the theme of the night, and you were following scores, just a bunch of crazy games with huge comebacks, lots of fourth quarter lead changes. I mean, it was just a great night of high school football around the state. Arroyo Grande was down all night against Garces, and the Eagles score. I want to say they scored the last 15 points of this game. At one point, it was 26-7 Garces, so they outscore them 29-6 the rest of the way, and AG wins it. So Garces, they're a lot better than they were last year. Just haven't maybe quite turned that corner to beat a team as good as Arroyo Grande.
Probably not, and on the road and lessons learned there.
Yeah,
you big lead, you got to keep pushing. So obviously, they'll come back regroup. Garces is far better than Garces was a year ago.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, and we'll see a score here in a minute that'll prove that. First off, Frontier, they had an early lead on Paso Robles, but obviously the defense could not hold up. Paso Robles, I think, scored 20 unanswered points in the third quarter to kind of pull away in this one. Frontier, I think, better than last year as well, but boy, you can't give up 51 points and win a game. This one, Burroughs, for the second straight week, a game-winning touchdown in the final minute. They did it to Palmdale last week. They do it to Tehachapi this week. So Steve Denman stuck on 295 for one more week.
Yeah, and there you go. That whole thing about keep playing. And
yeah.
Burroughs does it, and Denman, they're going to win again.
They'll win again, and Burroughs is a good team, and we think Tehachapi very good too. They did not play last week, so this was their season opener, and Tehachapi had, I believe, a 14-6 lead in this game going into the fourth quarter, so Burroughs able to outscore them 16-0 to win that game in the fourth quarter. And here's the game I was talking about. Bakersfield Christian had lost 5 of the last 7 Milk Bowls, but not tonight. They fell behind 7-0 and then just turned the offense on like crazy. Jeremiah Foster, a couple of touchdown receptions. He had a couple of interceptions on defense. Alex Wallace, a couple of interceptions on defense. Also returned a punt 80 yards for a touchdown. And I'll tell you what, there's a good win for BCHS. It also makes Garces look that much better with what they did to the Eagles last week.
Right, and this game actually started a little before a lot of the games around here, but there were a bajillion penalties. You could ask Jeff Evans. This was a penalty fest from the get-go.
And it was 21-10 BCHS at halftime. So do the math. That's 30 second-half points for the Eagles to keep CVC at bay. Next up, another team that fell behind early and was able to come back and win. South High, really just a better team than Delano. Delano has now scored 20 points in 2 weeks, and the Rebels were not going to fall to 0-2.
No, I don't think so. That's predictable.
Too good of a program at this point, and they go up to D-Town to get that done. Maybe the craziest game of the night, or at least one of the top 2 or 3, and there were a lot of candidates tonight. This game had 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter alone. It was 7-7 at halftime, and then it just kept flip-flopping back and forth. It was, and let's see if I can go through some of the changes here. It was 12-7 North, and that was already after one change. I think it was 6-0 North. East takes a 7-6 lead. North back on top 12-7. Raymond Marquez, the star of this one for the Blades, an 89-yard kickoff return, made it 15-12. He muffs a punt on the next possession, allows North to go back up 19-15, I guess it would have been. And then Marquez comes back with a 2-yard interception touchdown, the 2-yard touchdown run set up by an East interception. So just back and forth all night long, and East ends up on top. And you know what? Good for the Blades. David Finucchi's team's 2-0. And North, which beat Independence last week, when we saw Independence go toe-to-toe with Stockdale, they can't win at East. So maybe East High is a factor in the South Yosemite
East
League.
High may be the best it's been in a long time.
And they are the only 2-0 team in the South Yosemite League. Who would have ever figured that in a league with Ridgeview and Tehachapi? The only unbeaten team left in the league, East High Blades. So go East. A couple of other crazy ones. Here's one of them. Cesar Chavez, we thought this would be a blowout, and for a while it was. 35-12, Cesar Chavez in the third quarter. Golden Valley scored 24 unanswered points. They kick a field goal with about 5 minutes left to go up 36-35, and then Cesar Chavez recovers and scores the game-winning touchdown late. I mean, you talk about a crazy game.
Crazy games all over the place. So many comebacks tonight. I know Foothill and Arvin were. We'll get to that slide later on. That's another game that was
I think that
crazy.
One's coming up next, and that was another, maybe not next, that was another crazy one. Next one is going to be not so crazy. Porterville all over the West High Vikings.
And this one was Porterville scored early and often.
I'm ashamed to admit, Mike, I picked West in this game, and my thought was that maybe West was further along than we thought after a late offseason coaching change, late offseason quarterback transfer. Obviously, still a lot of work to be done there.
Yeah, that really impacts the program when those things happen that late.
And they committed, West High committed 10 penalties for 90 yards and a couple of turnovers. You're not going to beat a good team in that sort of situation. Moving on, we have the other Porterville team, Monache, all over Taft, 38-12. I'm ashamed to admit I picked Taft in this game. I guess I was hating on Porterville, and Porterville showed me what's up tonight. But Taft also in this game, by the way, did not play with their leading running back, Robert Cosino, had 296 yards against Golden Valley last week. So Taft was shorthanded. That doesn't mean that you got to give up 38 points, though.
No, that certainly.
It's going to be tough to win no matter what.
But perhaps without the running, they had no offensive time of possession, and therefore they're always on defense.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of details on this game just tonight. We'll get some more as we go on. You can always read Trevor Horn's BVarsity Friday Night Rewind. That's in Sunday's paper, and that's also where we'll have all the box scores in stats. Tomorrow, as you can see, this is our front page. We got Liberty's big win over Ridgeview there. And we just got that in under the deadline. So we kind of working with deadline. Saturday's paper will be whatever we can get in. You'll get all the scores. Sunday's paper, get all the stats. Get Trevor Horn's Friday Night Rewind. Back to the scoreboard we go. Highland scored early and often. They beat Shafter 45-27. The Generals can score under Gerald Perucci. They did it against Miramonte last week as well, but too much firepower for Zeke Arambola and the Scots in this one. I don't think we have any data on that one, though.
Yeah, that game was a late game that barely got in. And 2-0 for the Scots, so good start for the school up on a hill.
Team. Yeah, and that will be – you can really see a three-way league race developing in the SEYL there with Highland, South, and North. Now, South and North have each lost a game now, but they've looked very competitive. And Highland 2-0 – I don't know if they're the favorite yet. Beating Arvin and Shafter, maybe not the greatest resume in the world, but 2-0 is a heck of a lot better than any of the alternatives. Moving on, and here's the game you mentioned earlier, your Foothill High Trojans.
Yeah, and Vance Palm's Arvin Bears.
And Matt Alvarez, our color analyst, and I also a Foothill High Trojan.
And this one, the Trojans led the entire game. Or
the
trailed.
The Bears led, yeah.
The Bears led the entire game, and by a lot.
And I want to say, at one point the score was 30-14 or 30-13, something like that.
It was 30-14, and then
they just kept chipping away. And
there you go, and you get the win. Because you did pick Foothill, right?
We did. Both Trevor and I both picked Foothill.
You guys weren't looking very good till the very end.
Boy, Foothill saved us. Good for J.O., though, and we don't, again, it was a late game. Jay Sean Ward, I'm sure, had a big night for the Trojans. And Hugo Santana, their quarterback, I'm sure had a part in that comeback as well. Good for J.O., Jason Oliver, and Foothill getting that victory. Few other scores. Kennedy all over Miramonte, 47-7. Kennedy beat up on Foothill last week, so the Thunderbirds, two-time defending Division VI champions, they got the goods again.
Yeah, senior Latin team, a lot of upperclassmen on the team, so
look out for the Thunderbirds as we go forward in the SSL. McFarland gets a win. Trevor and I both picked this one, but we both picked them to beat Tranquility. Don't forget the double L in a low-scoring game. This turned into a shootout, and the Cougars get their first victory of the year.
And what I know about this game is the score.
All right.
There you have it.
And that Tranquility has 2 L's. Things did not go well for Desert on this night. Desert went up to Reedley and played Emmanuel toe-to-toe last week. Not so fast tonight. Oak Park 54-12 over the Scorpions.
Yeah, that's a tough game there.
Rosemont beating Lancaster. Nice win for the Roadrunners. They're 2-0.
2-0.
I would have to look because I have to admit I'm not an expert on Rosemont football, but in my 9 seasons here with BVarsity, I think that's the first time they've ever been 2-0. So congratulations to Rosemont. And I believe they're the only 2-0 team in the High Desert League right now because, score we'll see here in a second, Cal City lost. Cal City is my favorite. Rosemont beat Little Rock. So maybe Rosemont's going to be a factor.
Yeah, and that would be good for the school. That's their basically at the base of the mountains on the other side of
Tehachapi, yeah. And so things looking kind of upside down in the High Desert League, things looking kind of upside down all over the place. I think the one thing we've seen that doesn't surprise us maybe is that Week 10 game between Liberty and Bakersfield is going to be pretty darn big. That's what it's looking like.
It's looking like that right now, isn't it?
But you've got, you know what? You got to hand it to Stockdale as well. They're 2-0. They'll play both of those teams first. So that could be a factor. I don't think you bury Ridgeview. The only problem for Ridgeview is the schedule lightens up and you don't get a chance to prove it against D1 teams. They do play Frontier and Central and Bakersfield yet. So still some chances for resume-building wins for Ridgeview, but at this point, it looks like their season is going to be contingent on how they do in the Division II playoffs. Again, some losses on the coast for Garces and Frontier, but they look good in just some crazy games tonight. Anything that stuck out to you on this Week 2 night?
Nothing other than it was a lot smoother in the office than last week.
Well, that's always a good thing. We're always learning every week as well.
I think I'm maybe surprised by the amount of penalties in the BCHS game. Ton of penalties in that game, and you're getting in this. Shouldn't have as many the second week of play as the first week of play.
That's true, and there were a bunch for Ridgeview that could have cost them the game. And I'll tell you what, the game that we broadcast, Stockdale and Independence, had penalty after penalty also, so another theme of the night.
Maybe that. And not surprised by BHS's win, but, boy, 52-0.
That looks good against anybody, doesn't it? And Chaminade doing it to St. Bonaventure. Whew,
yeah,
that's laying down the law right there.
That might be the surprise of that.
So Chaminade beating up on St. Bonaventure. I think the score is 49-7. Remember, St. Bonaventure beat Centennial 42-7 last week. Chaminade comes to BC 2 Thursdays from now. So that's the one to circle. Next week, some big games. Centennial plays Golden Valley. Liberty plays Central. By the way, we should go through a couple of northern area scores that I've got here. Clovis was tied late. They're number 2 in our rankings. They end up scoring late to beat Turlock 34-28. They move to 2-0. Clovis North loses at home to Bellarmine 32-21. Bellarmine of San Jose. Sanger beating Hanford. Central gets in the win column. They beat Sunnyside big. Tulare Union all over El Diamante. San Joaquin Memorial beats Lemoore. Anything else stick out to me? That's really about it. Redwood beating Clovis East. So I'll tell you what, the Chaminade Bakersfield game will be fun. Liberty Central will be fun next week. You got Centennial trying to get in the win column, Golden Valley trying to get in the win column. Those two teams will be desperate. And one of the best rivalries in Kern County rekindled for the first time in 3 years. Tehachapi visiting Garces at Sam Tobias Field next week. That ought to be a lot of fun after both suffer heartbreaking road losses.
There should be a lot of green in the stadium that night.
Yeah, you think so, right?
Yeah, I would
and
think
that's one of those
color may be green.
That's one of those cool rivalries. They call it the Ogilvy Bowl. The communities know each other really well. They treat each other really well, but boy, those kids want to win that game.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Garces and Tehachapi will be a big one next week as well. That's Mike Griffith. I'm Zach Ewing. John Farron ran the board for us. He got back from Stockdale. He's working his tail off as well, so we appreciate him. And until next week, everybody, catch Trevor Horn's Friday Night Rewind and Sunday's paper. Then he's back on BVarsity Nightly Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We're back in here, the BVarsity preview on Thursday, and we've got a live game for you again in Week 3 next week. Until then, this has been BVarsity Live.